Good afternoon, YouTube, if you are on the East Coast. Right before noon here, my time here in the Central Time. We're back. Pass the Prop is back, coming back to you guys live for our Friday edition. Question and answer, top 4 plays of the weekend. Very, very excited. Obviously, the game last night didn't go the way we thought, but how'd you feel about it last night, Montone? Obviously, the Chiefs played like shit, to be honest, but they found a way to win. And the Chargers, I mean, they look damn good.
Yeah, no, obviously not the way I hope to start the week. The game wasn't quite as enjoyable or the offensive explosion we kind of expected. That happens sometimes. Good game, good. We definitely got some takeaways, right? I agree. The Chargers defense is legit this season. It kind of shows the Chiefs could kind of handle that adversity despite the fact that nothing was going right for them. That kind of pick six really came out clutch. It was an interesting game. Obviously not the best for betting for me personally, but I'm excited to kind of put that aside and crush this weekend because we got a lot of good games coming up.
Yeah, I know that pick six, just every one of my bets right down the toilet right when that happened, just because everything was going to plan, right? We would have had the Chiefs down by 7, 10 minutes left. Mahomes had to throw the ball a little bit, and then all of a sudden you don't get the ball back till 6 minutes. They run the clock, obviously, and yeah, just kind of that's how it goes sometimes. But everything was looking pretty damn good going into it. I don't think the Chargers lost any stock last night, even though they did lose. I think that they definitely let the Chiefs off the hook. I don't know how much better of a chance you'll have to beat them than where they were. But, I mean, they look pretty damn good here. So I was very happy to see that as a guy who has Herbert in like 50% of his best ball leagues. I was very happy to see him come back in the game, get that extra like 8 or 9 points, and hopefully him and Keenan Allen can get healthy by next game. Herbert is just such a savage, dude. Like when I saw him try to throw that ball and he couldn't even throw it, and then he just dimes a 35-yarder. It was stupid. That was so dumb. I was watching the game. I'm like, all right, this is done. It's 4th and 1. Like all you have to do is run a yard and we've been good. And then he throws probably the best ball he threw the whole game.
Yep.
With that, it was, dude, Herbert's a beast, man. He's an absolute beast. Exactly, Ryan. I 100% agree. Terrence, welcome in here. Obviously, very happy to see you guys in here. But yeah, I mean, we'll give it a little bit here yet. But we have a lot of good games this weekend, right? We talked about it on the DFS slate. Which one are you looking forward to most? While you were talking about that, I'm going to put in the DraftKings lineups here right on the side. So you guys, if you want to join into our free one, sponsored by Pickett, we did send out everybody. Everybody should be good to be paid there, but I will post that in there if you guys want to join week 2.
Yeah, no, we're going. Remember, guys, free $100 every single week. We need you guys to join up on this. All you got to do is try to beat us, right? This is sponsored by Pickett, so Pickett's obviously completely free. Go download that app and play against us because I'm going to win this week. And speaking of what my favorite game is, it kind of has to do with DFS. Cardinals Raiders, man. I'm excited for some offense. Talk about a shootout. I think that's finally going to be the game where we see some crazy offense. For me personally, I'm a little bit more biased. Don't have my Washington football in front of me right here, but it is the Washington Lions game. I think that'll be a sneaky over game. I think we're going to see some offense. I don't think either of these two teams have particularly good defenses. I think it's going to be good for props, and I think it's going to be good for my personal entertainment when Washington ends up taking down the Lions this week.
Yeah, no, it should be a good game. I like Wentz a lot in DFS this week. I like to see that Swift was in too. He officially said he's good to go. I think that makes the offense a lot more explosive as well, which means obviously Washington will have the ball a little bit quicker than those slow, stupid drives where Jamal Williams runs it 4 yards up the middle every single play and just turns a little bit boring there. Before we get started, I will put up our recap here just to make sure that you guys see what we have. We are still positive. I know 5-5. Obviously, I talked to you before this, Stu. If we take out our Thursday night bets, we are 5-1. Obviously swept the weekend, and yeah, the Thursday ones have just been weird to us. But obviously coming off of last Sunday's sweep, we have 4 more plays. We seem to be kind of on the same wavelength for a lot of them, so that makes me very happy to see. But if you guys could, please smash that like button. We're about to get into our plays here, and I will kick it over to you. You just talked about that game. I think that's the best one to attack here.
Sure. We'll start out with Derek Carr, over 280. I believe this is 4. I might have sent you the
84.
wrong
My
number.
bad.
284 passing. No, it's probably my bad. 284 passing yards right here for the Raiders going against the Cardinals. I just kind of alluded to this offense last week, and we saw it. I was very confident that Mahomes and the Chiefs were going to destroy the Raiders, and that's what happened. They came in and crushed them. Cardinals on paper posted the worst DVOA out of any pass defense. Kind of expected with how poorly they performed, right? And now we get Derek Carr kind of stepping into this good matchup. Here's the good news. Derek Carr went over this number in week 1, despite playing terribly. I mean, that Chargers defense bullied them, right? They straight up bullied them. Turnovers, fumbles, everything like that. It was an ugly performance, yet he still eclipsed this number at 295. Once again, we saw what this Chargers defense did yesterday, right, to the Chiefs. Even Mahomes didn't end up going over this number. It kind of shows that the Chargers are a legit matchup, and he already has overcome a good matchup and cashed this number. Now he's going to a great matchup where he should be able to sky over this number. I like Carr a lot. I'm coming into the season high on him. I gave out his season-long over before the season started. Another great stat I saw too, shout out to Jacob Gibbs on Twitter for this one right here. The Cardinals blitzed the most out of any team in week 1 by over 13%. Derek Carr's passer rating is 15% above average when being blitzed, 2.2% below average when not being blitzed. He's been great against the blitz throughout the course of his career, and now he's getting a team that blitzed more than anyone else in week 1. The secondary is not going to be good. You guys notice I don't bet a lot of passing yards. If you watch this show, I really don't bet a lot of quarterbacks. The way I know it's time to bet passing yards is when I go, how can I bet Devante Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and Darren Waller all at once? Once I realized I couldn't actually do that, despite the fact that I love all those guys, it was clear it's time to go to Derek Carr right here. I might have to look at some alt lines too, maybe get a nice 325 or something like that here too. I think Derek Carr is a great game.
Yeah, I don't need to back anything up from you. I'm going to just go right into mine. I was actually very excited that you brought up the blitzing point. I think we saw the same thing on Twitter. It was on Twitter.
Yeah,
I think we saw the same thing because I was literally about to say, that's why I'm going to Adams here, is just we saw last week how much pressure that you can put on Derek Carr with this Chargers defense. And what was his initial reaction? Last year it was, hey, let's just throw it to Renfrow. Right? It doesn't matter. He's only 3 yards away. Now it is Adams, no matter what. He didn't even look other people's way in these matchups, right? It was Devante Adams absolutely cooking everybody, and he was wide open, found a way. Dude, his route running is unbelievable. He's open every single time. Even when he's not, he is open. He finds a way to get there. This week, he has a perfect 100% matchup advantage. I haven't seen that in a couple weeks here. Even going back to the Super Bowl, there's no 100% matchup advantage. This one, there is. He is the top guy this week in matchup advantage. He led the NFL in air yards last week. He led them in target percentage. He was at 40, I think 46, I think it was, or 46% target share. That is absurd. This game isn't a huge spread either, which I like. And the Raiders defense could easily get torched here by the Cardinals and make this game into a fun little shootout. I love Carr this week as well. But if I'm going to go somewhere, I want to go to the security blanket, which is Adams. And even if he gets 35% of the target share, this man is still going to find a way to come down with these. He had 17 targets last game. And we've seen them do the exact route that the Packers would do, where it's just a quick out. Because he just literally gets him off, takes that 2 steps back, and he's just wide open underneath. That's pretty much a run. It's that easy to these guys. And obviously you could see the connection was there. I love Adams this week. I don't know if I can get there in DFS. He is priced all the way up to where a top receiver should be. But he's still, I think, like number 4 in pricing behind, obviously, Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp. But I love Devante Adams this week. This one might end up being like 1.5, 2 units possibly.
Yeah, no, I love Adams too. I think I told you before the show that he was one of the guys I was considering playing as well. I've almost had the tweet typed up a couple times, actually. So there's no arguing. We are both on the same page. Devante Adams is in the best spot out of any wide receiver this week, in my opinion. I think he's going to absolutely smash. And insane. Just one more stat to yours, too. He had 17 targets, right? He was obviously the most involved guy. He received a target on 40% of the routes he ran. That's insane. That's almost half of every single play he was out there, he was targeted on by Derek Carr. These two clearly have that college connection that maybe I was overlooking a little bit in week one, because those two are working together well. So absolutely love this play. I think Adams smashes. And two, it's kind of funny. I just opened up FanDuel because Terrence mentioned that FanDuel finally posted the numbers for this game. They posted passing and rushing. They haven't posted receiving yet. They haven't even done it. It's just sitting there blank. I don't think I've ever seen that before. So they're scared. They're scared. Don't let them win, though. We're going to take their money this week.
One thing also was what I was kind of expecting was to see Derek Carr do what he did last year, where he had those like dump downs to running backs. We didn't really see Josh Jacobs running many routes. They were pretty much just using Devante Adams as those little check down spots that they usually were using for Jacobs last year. I don't think he played 1 third down. I think he had 1 catch, where last year he was a little bit more involved on those underneath when he was in trouble. But now it's like there's no safety blanket. It is Devante Adams. If I am in trouble, it is going there. So I think that was important to mention too, because Josh Jacobs was getting like 3-4 catches a game last year. This first game, he only had 1, and he wasn't on the field for any third downs either. So I think that's big too.
100%.
Thank you, Ryan. 115 over on Bet365 if you want to grab that Devante Adams line, and obviously the FanDuel one for Terrence there. What's up, Turbo? Happy to see Jay is in here as well. We got Super Onion Ring popping in here, a regular. We got 1 question so far. Again, guys, if you have any more, drop them in the chat. We'll get to them. But we have DJ Moore over 4.5 receptions, and he had 3 last week. Barely had the ball. Moore is the clear alpha. I definitely like DJ Moore. I'm more of a yards guy on DJ Moore usually, because I just feel like every one of those dump downs just go straight to CMC. And I definitely don't like this spot just because you just see the offensive coordinator talk about how they want to get CMC the ball even more than what he did. So, I mean, those dump downs to DJ Moore might just go to CMC if they're going to just strictly try to feed him the ball, which I can't blame them. Obviously, he's one of the best receiving running backs probably ever. So I would say I would go yards, if anything, maybe longest reception, because I know Stu loves those. But, yeah, it's tough for me to go anywhere in the Panthers game outside of Christian McCaffrey just because of what was said in the media here.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a tough one for me. I mean, Robbie Anderson going off for his, random week 1 explosion game before doing nothing for like 5 in a row weeks. I think he has a pretty good matchup right here. But yeah, I want to see a little bit more of this Carolina offense kind of work because it looks wacky. They're not really playing to their strengths. It's kind of a weird situation right there. I don't know. But I do think Moore is being underpriced for his talent alone. But I kind of agree with you. Longest reception or yards is probably where I would go a little bit first.
Turbo, I would definitely do that. If you have the option to go up to like 10, I definitely think 10 would be probably my max, just because I have a feeling Hunter Renfro's got to be a little bit more involved this week, just because
Waller too.
He really didn't do anything. But yeah, Waller made the most of it though. He made the most of his 5 targets to the 17 of Adams. I think that's hilarious there. But yeah, let's get into Pickett. Let's go right into our Pickett spots here. I think this first one, we're going to agree on. We definitely talked about him. He was, I think, your spot this week, right? Or was that my spot? One of us was on him. Saquon Barkley over 74.5 rushing yards is the number 1 bet spot this weekend. Thoughts here? Obviously, we have Saquon facing off. Oh, gosh, I should know this. I have all these games in my head. I think he is the Panthers, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, you talked about this one on the show, so I don't think we need to spend a whole lot more time talking about this one here. I'm going to tail. I liked it more at 70 where it opened, and now it's up to like even 76 in some spots, 77. This line is obviously moving. Saquon's in a great spot. We broke it down more last game. I think he goes over right here. They haven't posted, some of the other props I might be looking for on him right now maybe in the receiving game, but I do like Saquon to go over right here 100%. He's going to find his way on my card in a couple spots by the end of this week.
Yeah, I will definitely find my way over on that. I definitely probably would lean a little bit more with the yards rushing and receiving just so it doesn't get game scripted out. But I definitely like the over 74.5. As long as he's healthy, man, he's a top 3 back, man. He shows it every time he's healthy. It's just everybody forgets about him because he never stays on the field for that long. So love that spot. This one, I'm not sure what we're going to be on with this one. We have Tyreek Hill over 67.5 passing, or why did I put passing yards? Receiving yards? Maybe it's Taysom Hill, huh? That's what I was thinking. The elite rusher, that is Taysom Hill.
Yeah, no, shout out to the person that I told to bench Taysom Hill in my Discord. I do apologize for that last week. I did not expect what we saw. Well, let's see if we disagree. I like Tyreek Hill a lot this week. I think he has a great week. I'm going to be playing him in DFS, especially with what we're seeing with these corners on the Ravens. Now, Marlon Humphrey is popping up with a groin injury on the list today. Ooh, Ravens, I don't know what they're doing with this secondary right now. Obviously, some injuries are hitting them for the second season in a row. Tyreek Hill was super involved week one. Another guy that's going to end up finding his way on my card in one way or another by the end of the week.
Yeah, it's tough for me to think that he's not going to be popping off in one of these matchups. Obviously, early on, we kind of seen him do the short routes early on in their game last week, which was definitely weird because obviously they still have Jalen Waddle. But, yeah, I think that I'll definitely be on the over here. I don't like doing the double tail, but I will do it on this one here.
Has to happen sometimes.
Dude, it's weird. I don't like it. It's like it almost feels like a I don't know. I just feel like something bad's gonna happen to me when I double tail. Everything always does that for me. But let's take a look. We can do one more. Let's do one more question here. This one's tough. We don't do spreads as much here on Pass the Prop, but what is your top spot here on the Sunday slate before we go into our picks for later here?
Yeah, I'm looking at the board right now. This is a tough one for me. I'm a little bit biased. I do think Washington wins outright against the Lions. I do think that is a little bit of a wrong side with the wrong team favored right there. As opposed to, with some other lines that are confusing me. I think the Rams -10 might sneakily be really good. I'm going with the idea that the Rams are just going to beat the fuck out of the Falcons this week. They're angry after what happened last week. We just saw them embarrassed. The Falcons performed well last week. Maybe that's just who they are this year, but I'm going to have to default to kind of more of our preseason expectation that this team isn't actually going to be dominant. And I think the Rams might come out and destroy them. So I'm kind of liking the 10 there. And one more I was looking at too. Let's see. What about Patriots Steelers? What do you think of that? That's such a disgusting game.
I'm stay away from that with a 10-foot pole, man. It's bad.
That's fair. I thought the Steelers would be favored. That's just what I was going to say. I thought they'd be favored, but we'll see what happens in that one. Spreads are weird this week. It'll be fun to watch, though. Oh, also, wait, sorry, one more. Sorry, Colts Jags. What's going on with that? The Colts are 3.5-point favorites against the Jaguars? I don't know.
You saw the thumbnail, didn't you? You saw the thumbnail. The GOAT, baby. The GOAT. I'd take the other side. Give me the Jaguars, baby. I'm rolling with them all the way to the bank, dude. They find a way, man. They're staying close. But I would definitely say if I'm going to pick my favorite one of the week, I'm probably just going to take the Giants. They're -1.5 at home. I think that they're going to come out and just punch them right in the mouth right away. Obviously, I think that Carolina will keep it close, but I only need them to win by 2. I'll take that. I think the Giants at home. I like that Dable offense, man. They're coming off the high of Tennessee, right? You got confidence flowing right now. Sign me up. Give me those Giants. Obviously, I think Saquon has a great game. Obviously, I would really like to see Kadarius Toney play in this game instead of just sitting. But yeah, all right, I'll give me the Giants. I think the Giants take care of Carolina. And even though I did lose my survivor pick of the Carolina Panthers, guess who still is on that under win total, baby? That definitely helps out because that was the one I gave them. I gave them that one. So hopefully for my futures bet and for this week, we're gonna fade the Carolina Panthers here. Sign me up for the Giants -1.5.
Love it. Love it.
All right. Play number 2, going to Washington.
Yes, sir. I'm going back to Curtis Samuel over 3.5 receptions. I played this at 2.5 last week. I thought that was a gift, and I think this is a gift once again. I mean, 3.5. I don't know who's going to have to get fired for giving out this one right here. But when you look at without even my analysis, when you look at where the lines drop, because receptions always drop second. They always drop yards first. They dropped him at 45 yards. It's since moved down to 43. Curtis Samuel came in with one of the lowest average depth of targets of anyone in the league last week at 1.1, I believe is what it was at. He was not traveling. The ball was not traveling through the air, right? He was getting the ball close to the line of scrimmage in these short receptions and making plays after the catch, right? He had 11 targets last week, and they're pricing this one at 4 receptions right here. I like receptions way more than yards. I mean, yards was tempting me at 43, but Curtis Samuel going 4 for 29 is like his floor performance, right? They're literally just giving him the ball as close to the line of scrimmage as possible. And we got to remember, Curtis Samuel demanded over 100 targets in an offense with Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore both playing. He was legit before he went down with that injury. And Ron Rivera specifically picked this guy out because he wanted to have that kind of Debo light role, which is what we're calling it now, because Debo Samuel did it more last season. But in reality, Curtis Samuel was kind of the guy that was doing it a little bit before him, right? Getting involved close to the line of scrimmage, making plays after contact. Curtis Samuel was very impressive in week 1. I think this is a bad line. I would have made this line 4.5, probably minus 125, something like that. So a whole point over. This will move to 4.5. It will be plus money, and I would play it there as well. If this was past week 1, this might be more of week 2. This might be more like a 2-unit play right here. This just seems like a joke. 11 targets last week, guys. That's not a fluke. It's going to keep going.
Yeah, and the close spread too, which is really nice. Obviously, they're going to have the advantage up front there with Gibson obviously running the ball. So if we can keep this game close, we can turn this into that shootout that we want it to be with the Swift side, with St. Brown and obviously all those guys. I think it should be good. And it's kind of funny that I will reiterate, we do not talk about our plays prior to 5 minutes before the show, and we're going to the same game. Both of our plays are in the same game. So you only got to watch 2 games this weekend if you're just betting past the prop here. I'm going Terry McLaurin over 58.5. I think this is absolutely disrespectful. I really thought this one would be at least like mid-60s. I'm really just surprised here. Obviously, you have a matchup here with the Lions where we just saw them get cooked last week, right, by the Eagles. They actually ran the ball, I think, like 9 more times than they passed it, too. So there's really not that much volume that was coming at these guys here. And I really like to see Carson Wentz throw that ball down the field. We talked about it in last show. His deep ball is beautiful, man. He throws a great deep ball. He throws an awful mini screen pass to defensive tackles. That's what he loves to do. But, hey, if we're going to throw it down the field, it was looking pretty nice. Obviously, we cashed the longest completion for you, longest reception for Terry McLaurin. He only had 4 targets last week, and I think most of that was because they were getting some decent pressure on him, right? They obviously invested in that defensive line. But we look at here, 54% pass block advantage for the Washington football team. It's stuck in my head. But Commanders, so they have a passing advantage here where we're going to get down the field, hopefully, and that's where we're going to see Terry kind of take over in the middle of the field, down the sidelines there as well. I talked about Devante Adams being the number 1 matchup advantage. Terry McLaurin not far behind is number 3 with a 92% matchup advantage here. I think they're going to involve him early. Only 4 targets last week. Obviously, I think that was because there was pressure on Carson Wentz. He had the home crowd booing him at some points after that touchdown return. After like I said, I can't stop bringing it up. It was just that funny at the moment, which actually helped my DFS lineups. That's besides the point. But I think we saw that the Eagles got up early and let off the gas. Imagine if that game stayed close, right? We would have saw Jalen Hurts absolutely cook them through the air as well, right? They kind of stopped, let the Lions back into it, and then started throwing again. Here, I think that this game stays close. Obviously, the 1-point spread really helps us out, keeps it close here. I think Samuel does a lot of the dirty work inside there. But obviously, I don't expect Dotson to just go out and catch 2 touchdowns, right? 2 deep touchdowns. I think Terry McLaurin becomes that guy here again this week. I don't even care if he's double-teamed. With how bad these corners are, I think he cooks everybody and at least gives me, if it gives me 3 catches, I think he has a very high chance of getting to this number. So sign me up, Terry McLaurin over 58.5.
Yeah, my thoughts on this one, I'd probably be thinking the same thing I was thinking last week. I do think I like longest reception a little bit more than yards. That is seemingly the role. I believe he had an 18 average depth of target, which led the team by a good little bit last week. We talked about it a good amount then, though. Obviously, this new offense is going to have those opportunities to stretch the field. And when you have so much pressure underneath, which we didn't even know that was the case last week. I was making that bet just to kind of on Carson Wentz, but now we know this Washington team is going to pressure the fuck out of the middle of the field with Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, and J.D. McKissic all working as great short yardage pass catchers, not even mentioning Logan Thomas, who's pretty much only out there to pass catch. He's not blocking anyone out there. That's a lot of short yardage weapons, which really does open up kind of deeper targets for guys like Terry McLaurin. The one concern I will bring up is kind of like the targets. You did mention the pressure thing, but I am interested to see kind of what the new normal is with this Washington offense. Maybe Terry McLaurin does just take a step back in his role, despite the fact that the talent is still clearly there. But since I don't want to overreact from week one, which is probably a little bit what I'm doing, I do think that Terry obviously has a great matchup against the Lions secondary. We've talked about that. Okudah, obviously a big draft pick that they got these last, 2 years ago, has not performed well at all. He'll need to turn it around very quickly. But that, Terry McLaurin obviously has a huge matchup, like you mentioned right there. So I think Washington offense performs well. So that's obviously a big part of why I like this one and both of them.
Yeah, no, it should be a great game. Great game for sure. All right, guys, let's get into some questions here. We got a ton of questions in here. And then I'll put the ticker on the bottom as well. So you guys who are just getting in here, got about 50 of you guys in here. If you could smash the like button. Hopefully you guys are subscribed and already ready to go for all past the props in the future here. We have a guy here. I think this is the first time I've seen you in here. Freaker Bowl here saying he's going to pair it with the Rams money line. I know that's a spot that you talked about there that the Rams might destroy them. I mean, minus 104 gives you great odds. You definitely thinking this is a spot to go possibly?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a good way to bring down the odds in, a slightly more responsible way right there. I do think the Rams win. So if you feel good about the Rams winning, like I do, then I definitely like the spot 100%. Go Curtis Samuel. He's crushing this week.
Where did you say you saw 3 or 4.5 somewhere on a book?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm saying it's going to be there. It's going to. I don't know if it's be after the show or whenever, but it'll be there. I don't think 3.5 is a good number at all.
All right. I definitely will be talking about our favorite touchdown scorers here in a little bit. We will have our touchdown parlay at the end there for you. I did back this play last week. I did back Kirk over 4.5 receptions. It's a great line. I got it at like minus 130 last week. Books are getting smarter, moving up to 4.5. But yeah, I really like Christian Kirk, man. Like I said, I have a ton of Christian Kirk in best ball. I have a ton of Curtis Samuel at his like 200 draft position, which was nuts. Definitely grabbing those guys early and often. Those guys are nice there. We have Super Onion Ring bringing another question for us. What about Devante over 82.5 total yards? 14 targets was absurd. Obviously, a nice favorite at home facing the Texans. We saw what happened last week with the Texans. They got absolutely shredded by Jonathan Taylor like was expected. Is this the spot you're thinking about here? Are you worried about the timeshare? I know Devante got like 90% of the passing work as the receiving back, but what's your thoughts here? 82.5, decent line.
Yeah, that is a good line just for the talent alone. Dang, this is tough, though, because it really depends on what you think his passing game work is going to be like, right? I mean, what would you guess? If you had to guess right now, how many targets do you think he has this week? I would guess maybe 6.
4 or 5.
Yeah, and I'm being a little ambitious. They were in a negative game script, surprisingly, right? Nobody could have predicted that last week. I personally don't think that is the case this week. So, yeah, I don't know. This is a weird one, but I'm going to have to say he goes over just on rushing alone. I think he obviously has a lot of rushing opportunity. I mean, anyone that was watching the Monday Night Football show, I had Devante longest rush. He didn't cover that, but he had a bunch of just 10-yard rushes where he was constantly, just kind of stuck there. So he's a great running back. I think he probably goes over this number. You just got to be careful about that target share because 14 is not going to happen again.
No, and I love his rushing. I wouldn't touch the total. I think that rushing is the spot to go. I really do. I have a feeling they're going to get ahead early. I think they're going to try to feature the receivers a little bit more, as Javonte Williams was the top receiver, right? I think he had the top targets on the team. Same thing with the Washington Commanders, right? Gibson's their leading receiver right now with 7 catches for 72 yards. I think that you're going to start seeing the wide receivers kind of take over a little bit here early on in this game, try to get them, you got to make them happy a little bit. And then obviously I think that gets you at least a quarter of just time-consuming running the ball, and I think you see Devante take over in the rushing game. I would lean rushing before I take total for sure. That would be where I'd go. I think the Saquon rushing, receiving at 107.5. I like this spot. Do you have a thought here? Obviously, Carolina, not a terrible matchup. I think they got shredded last week too, didn't they, by Browns?
Yes, they got absolutely destroyed on the ground by both Chubb and Hunt. I like both of those guys. I don't know. I like a lot of bets this week. It's tough. I'm surprised we're not seeing a Nick Chubb bet from you up here today. I know that's a past the prop legend from last year. That's in a great spot.
Yeah, no, I did post it. I posted it on Twitter, and then I had an article out already about Nick Chubb. You know, he's already on there.
Make sure to go check out that article for anyone hasn't already. I'm definitely going to read it after this one because I love Nick Chubb just in general. As for Saquon, I agree. I think like I said, I haven't fully decided how Saquon is going to end up on my card. He definitely will in one way or another. I hate this market. I've been betting it a decent amount. They always add an additional like 6-7 yards because you're obviously putting together rushing and receiving. That kind of hurts my soul because when I see that, I think let's just play them individually or the one I like more out of the two. But then obviously you can get screwed because of that. They know that. I do like this play though. I played it last week with Saquon rushing, receiving. I think it was in the 80s though. So now obviously the books have caught up a little bit. His numbers have moved a lot this week, but I like Saquon. He's in a great spot.
Yeah, no, I was on that same play. I think I got like a couple yards off of yours. I think yours was a little bit lower there. But, I think, like I said, Wan'Dale Robinson might not play. That takes another receiver out of the mix. You still have – I don't know what happened to Darius Slayton. I don't know where he is. So this receiving core is very, very beat up. Obviously, Saquon can do pretty much anything he wants out there. So – he's not going to have any limit to the opportunities he's going to get while he's healthy. So I think that he's definitely in a great spot here. Yes, Jay, I'm happy to hear that. Obviously, I think I got my 81.5, so it was good opening line there. But yeah, dude, Nick Chubb's going to nuke those guys. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. All right, let's take a look. Did you see any other questions in there?
I didn't. I do have a question for you though, real quick. A guy I've been thinking about a lot this week. I'll kind of let the people into my thought process a little bit. This one's a little uglier. We're going Garrett Wilson over 28.5 receiving yards. I've been looking at this one real closely all week. I like a lot of these kind of young guys. He performed well in week 1. Do you have any thoughts on this one? Are you going to talk me out of it, or what are we thinking right here?
I mean, the spread obviously looks your way, right? That gives you a 1 positive. Joe Flacco's got a big boy arm. That's another positive. The only thing is, what do you think in a realistic game that the Browns play their normal game? Do you think that the time of possession is going to be for the Jets?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're definitely right. It also kind of nullifies that secondary of the Jets, which is kind of the better part of their defense, right? They're not going to be able to perform because Browns don't want to throw the ball. They want to run. So that is a good point. This could be a real ugly game. You just have to think there's not going to be many neutral game situations, right? It's pretty much all going to be just throwing from behind. And Wilson was good in week 1. He might be the best wide receiver on this team already. I know a lot of people love Elijah Moore.
I do. I like Elijah Moore.
His talent, but man, Garrett Wilson, he was an absolute beast last season. I think he's going a little under the radar. 28.5 receiving yards was his line last week. It's the same line again this week. So I don't know. We'll see. And he crushed it last week.
Yeah. And then what's your thoughts on, are you looking at either one of the running backs there? You got Breece Hall and Carter. Obviously, Carter looked fantastic last week. I know they're trying to work Breece Hall in. Is Garrett Wilson the only guy you're looking for on the Jets, or are you looking at possibly maybe sneaking in there with Breece Hall or Michael Carter?
That's a tough one because I've not been on the Breece Hall train as much as other people. I like that quote we read before week 1 of Carter is kind of like a big deal in this offense. He's here to stay.
He's good, man. He's good.
Yes, I know. And I felt when I looked at these lines, I felt like they both dropped early, right? Both of them were not early. They both dropped low. I thought they were both a little bit low. For me, Breece playing every single snap in the 2-minute drill last game definitely gave me confidence as him as a pass catcher, right? It seemed like that's how they like using him. So I was a little bit kind of tempted on the 15.5 passing yards. I like both of these running backs, though. I don't know. I haven't bet either one of them. I think they both go over expectation, but it's a very fluid backfield, which kind of makes it harder for me to make a firm bet, I guess.
Yeah, really what bothers me about it is you don't know who's getting fully passing. You don't know who's getting fully rushing. Like, I know with the Browns, I worry about negative game script for Nick Chubb because he ain't going to do anything if they're losing, right? They're going to switch it over to Kareem Hunt, and he's going to get the dump down. If they're winning, Nick Chubb's going to run the ball 25 times. That's literally the two things that are going to happen, right? So I like that, but like in this one, you don't really know because both of them can catch, both of them can run. They're both explosive. Obviously, there's not one guy that looks like Derrick Henry and the other guy that's like your dump down guy, right? They're both kind of in that same type of build, too. So yeah, I don't know. I'm staying away from the Jets until Zach Wilson comes back. Obviously, a 39.5 point total doesn't really help me out much either. I mean, that's ugly. That's an ugly number.
Yeah. There's some kind of stay away games on this slate for sure. I mean, I don't know about you. I think that Patriots Steelers game, we talked about the spread earlier. Couple spots I kind of like in that game, but might as well just turn that one off, pretend it doesn't exist, and I'll watch the tape next, Wednesday and see what I think. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for sure. And I see Terrence too bringing up as a Jets fan, can't be excited about Flacco. I don't think either of us are excited about Flacco. I just think we're excited that we know they're going to be losing all game. So it kind of gives you a clear idea of how this game's going to go, right? I think throwing out Joe Flacco is like throwing out, the white flag to a game before it's even started. Like, you guys have Mike White on the roster. You might as well just try to use him. He seemed at least solid last season, but
yeah, he played well.
Yeah. And whatever, we'll watch more Joe Flacco if that's what the Jets want. We'll do it.
And I have one question for you now. Last thing before we get into our touchdown stuff, unless we have more questions in the chat. What are you doing in the Cincinnati-Dallas game? Obviously, we have the big injury to Dak. You've seen that they want to run the ball more, right? That's what Zeke said. Mike McCarthy came out today and said stuff about Kellen Moore, right? Like, Mike McCarthy is the worst coach of football. It's not even close. He's the worst coach to ever step on a sideline. The dude is a fucking bum. I don't care what anyone says. He is a bum. He is literally Steve Nash of the NFL, and maybe worse. Maybe worse. And that's tough to say. But he is a bum. So any thoughts here? Sorry, I had to get my rant in because anytime I say Mike McCarthy, the word bum needs to come out of my mouth in the same sentence. That's really how it is. So any thoughts here, right? This is a decent size spread. You still have pretty good outside options, right? It's only a 7-point spread, though. And you still have, obviously, Joe Burrow on one side. Dallas's defense looked pretty damn good last week, considering, right, how bad their offense was. Any thoughts here on that?
Oh, that's a tough one. This is a tough one. Cooper Rush is legitimately bad. He's just bad, right? Like, we have to watch a full game of Cooper Rush. I don't know. I don't want to see that. I'm pretty much, I don't want to say eliminating anything on the Cowboys side, but I'm not really interested in the Cowboys side at all because I'd have to then depend on Cooper Rush to actually get something done. It's just going to be an ugly offense, right? That offensive line isn't at full strength like they'd hoped coming into the season. Wide receiver room is obviously a little bit injured. Tolbert, their third-round rookie, wasn't even active in week 1, which is not a good sign you want to see, unless you bet on Noah Brown, which then it is.
I did. I had him in my flex. I had Tolbert in my flex. Got that update, sent Noah Brown in there, and he won me the week. He ended up with like 9.5.
So, I don't know. On the Bengals side, I think the obvious kind of choice that'll become in this game is Mixon, right? People are going to expect them to be running. He obviously saw a lot of volume in week 1. He has complete control over that backfield. P. Ryan is not really involved at all, nor is Chris Evans. It's pretty much going to be the Mixon show. I remember seeing his yards was around 70 when it opened, and also rushing attempts as well. I think Mixon is kind of the clear choice in this one.
Yeah, no, it's obviously Chase popped off last week and everything. Do you think T. Higgins plays here? He had like personal stuff. He had the concussion. I mean, if he's out, you have to jam in Jamar Chase then, right?
Yeah. I mean, Jamar Chase has 6 red zone opportunities last week. I don't know if you saw that. That's 3 more than any other wide receiver in football. We obviously did see overtime. That kind of complicates things, adds more plays. But still, Jamar Chase is a red zone weapon, along with just being a weapon in general. I think T. Higgins might play. I don't know if I'm going to play either of them, or I don't know how I'm going to approach that yet. I think it's probably just – I think Chase could get like 100 yards in like the first half and then just take a nap. You know what I mean? So who knows what's going to happen in that one. But, yeah, I think we need that Higgins news first before we make any decisions.
Yeah, no, I think I saw. Did he have like personal stuff or whatever? I saw personal on it.
Yeah, his dad passed away, I believe, before week 1. I think is what happened. But I think he'll probably. Okay, interesting. It looks like he will go then if he practiced today. I don't think he's going to sit out for the personal stuff. So we'll see.
All righty, let's go on into the last question here before we get into the. I know I'm reading these two. Obviously, I'm assuming it's a kid because he's used the wrong form of then in a thing here. So
I thought it was a bot, honestly. We got a Patrick Mahomes bot in our chat right now. The Russian bots have made it to pass the prop to further the Patrick Mahomes propaganda.
you got a little block. I gave him a little 5-minute timeout. You got to give me let me do timeouts, which I think is hilarious.
Timeout is such a funny way to punish someone, right? When you have this power, like go in timeout, buddy. Go think about this for a couple minutes. You can watch, but you can't.
That's the first one of the year. That's the first bot of the year, right? So, but yeah, I saw it say no one's better than me, and I'm like, dude, than it's THAN, bro. It's not then. All right, here we go. Yeah, I guess, Terrence. I guess we did. I guess that means something good happened here. I guess that we got our first spot of the year. So, let's go into. I was actually going to talk about this. Sorry about this Surefire Fantasy. I got distracted by Patrick Mahomes here, but let's go into it. Do you have any thoughts on here? I'm staying away from everything Najee Harris with the injury and stuff. Obviously, this is going to be the worst game ever. Maybe the Jets game pushes it as like the worst game ever, but Najee Harris, 2.5 catches, it seems low.
I mean, it is low, but this week has been crazy, right? You're reading the reports initially after Sunday. Yep, Najee Harris missing 2 to 4 weeks, something like that. Out of nowhere, suddenly Najee's like, no, I'm going. We're playing this week. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm thinking I'm going to follow the practice reports. He'll probably be a game time decision. He practiced in full yesterday. This guy was supposed to miss like 2 to 4 weeks. He's fully practicing. You don't even need to do that. That almost felt like a statement. Najee's going to play. That being said, I still don't want to bet on him, right? I mean, his yards, rushing yards open pretty high. This receptions is definitely low. I don't believe Trubisky's one of those guys that historically dumps off very much. I mean, even with having Tariq Cohen, right, for a long time, it still wasn't really something he did much, and I don't think that's going to follow, or I think that might fall through here. So I'm just going to pass. This is obviously a good line. It's kind of hedging. They don't know how healthy he's going to be, so they bring it down maybe a point, but I'm just going to pass. Just pass on Najee and probably that game overall.
Yeah, no, that game is just like, I can't back anybody in that game at all. But, yeah, let's get right on into our touchdowns. Let's get into our touchdown parlay. Your guy, obviously, I love to see that you're on this guy, but let's get to it.
Yep, this one isn't quite as sexy, but it's 2 wide receiver ones that we both like in high-scoring games, or at least what we're projecting to be high-scoring games. I'm going to start out Devante Adams getting a nice minus 125 on Caesars as opposed to pretty much minus 180, which is the consensus everywhere else. I bet that one as a solo, which I don't, do too often, I guess, but it still almost was an official play. I got it minus 114 at that opening price. Minus 125 is still good. Devante Adams, man, 3 red zone targets in that last game, ended up confirming for one of them, ended up with a touchdown. Also, like you mentioned earlier, you can just rewind the video, 17 targets. You talked about that crazy target share. You talked about the matchup. We don't need to go too much deeper. Devante Adams, the fact that this was plus money last week was absolutely insane, by the way. He is the best red zone wide receiver in football, I think. I mean, those routes that he runs are so crisp. You can't leave him in one-on-one, but teams do it. And I guess when you have Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow there, it makes it even harder to then commit more resources to Adams. But he's just such a red zone threat. I can't imagine him not scoring this week. I think he has a great game. Maybe gets in there twice. Go Devante Adams.
Yeah, no, it sucked to see. It sucked. Hey, I hated watching it. Obviously, not having Devante on the team anymore. But I'm on Amon-Ra St. Brown. Obviously, Detroit Lions here. Saw the same type of usage, right? Even with all of the guys back, right? You have last year, obviously, Swift was out when he was going off, but huge target share. I'd love to see that. Obviously, the number one spot for Mr. Goff in the passing game, 12 targets last week, 8 for 64 and a touchdown last week. I think he finds his way into the end zone. Plus 125 is pretty generous in my opinion, especially in a game that we think is going to shoot out. I'll take the number one receiver here. And we saw Washington was a little bit more leaky towards the Christian Kirk guys across the middle in that slot position. Kirk cooked them a few times in that game. Just like 5 yards separation in a 10-yard route. So Sign me up. I think St. Brown finds way into the end zone. I think he has another great week here for the Detroit Lions.
100%. So I see Steve pulled up the Rondell Moore, Andy Isabella out. It's Dortch season. I mean, he kind of balled out last week. The thing is, isn't he? I believe his ADOT was like really low, right? Isn't
It
he?
was, yeah.
Yeah, he's running a lot of his routes really close to the line of scrimmage, kind of being that safety blanket. I think he has another good week. Receptions will be interesting. If maybe we get like a 3.5, something really low, maybe they don't make that mistake. Maybe 4.5, something like that. That could be interesting. What other choice do they have? They have like no wide receivers right now. Marquise Brown's probably gonna be like quadruple covered on the outside.
Yeah, and then losing Chase Edmonds too as well is tough, right? That's the really big guy for them last year. But yeah, I think he would get 3.5. If they give me 3.5, I like that spot. Boosted both touchdowns until 2. Okay. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to take Sun God by himself for sure at plus 125. Remember, guys, when we do these parlays, throw them in as solos too if you're going to bet them too. Because how many times have we hit one and not the other, right? There's been way too many times that's happened there. So, yeah, I think that's all we got on here. We got a good 46 minutes in here. Let's do a quick recap. Obviously, you can see them on the bottom. If you have any last-minute questions, drop them in there quick, and we will try and get to them before the show is over. Let's kick it to you here, Stu.
Yep, starting out, Derek Carr over 284.5 passing yards. Apparently, this dropped at 281 on FanDuel. It looks like right before we went live. So if you can get that, that is obviously what I would prefer right there. But love Carr this week. Then we're moving on. Curtis Samuel over 3.5 receptions, minus 150. This is a bad line. I think it'll be 4.5 plus money pretty soon. Good news, I would also play it right there for a unit as well. I think Curtis Samuel has another good game. And then Pickett, we're doing the rare double tail right here. I love Saquon over 74.5 rushing yards right here. I'll be tailing the public. And then I'll also be tailing on Tyreek Hill over 67.5 receiving yards. I do believe PointsBet just dropped to 65, which is the best on the market as well. And I'll be tailing the public on that one as well.
Beautiful. I will be heading to the same game there. I'm heading to the Commanders over 58.5 receiving yards for Terry McLaurin. And I will also be in the Raiders game there with Devante Adams over 7.5 receptions. Love both those spots, and I will be double tailing these spots as well. And our touchdown parlay is going to be plus 323 this week with Devante Adams and the Sun God, Mr. St. Brown. There. All right, Sue, what do you got for us? What do you have for the people here before we head on out? Doesn't look like we have any other questions. If you have them, got to get them in there quick. Let's get to it. What do you got for us?
Yeah, no, and I mean, too, if you want to drop them just in the comments below after the show, we'll both be monitoring and giving our thoughts on anyone. We know not everyone can make it. You know, you all got work. It's 1:21. We don't want to cut anyone out of the process. So if you got any questions, definitely leave them in the comments below or follow us both on Twitter. I know both of us are putting out tons of picks for this week, a lot of action. Also, make sure to join our DraftKings contest. It is completely free. We're giving away $100 every week to the top 3 guys, right? 50, 30, 20, I believe is the payout structure. So this is literally free money right here. All you have to do is try to beat me and my Carson Wentz lineups this week. So maybe you can do that. Maybe you can't. I don't know. I don't know how good you guys are. I'd hope from watching the show, you're at least a little bit good, but we'll see. It's completely free. You guys should definitely join up. I'll also post the link to that in the comments as well after this show. But yeah, great show today. I love both of our picks. I like that we're both on the same page. I'm feeling good about week 2, man. One of my favorites of the season every year.
Yeah, no, let's go for another one. Let's go for a quick 8-0 on our Sunday plays. Again, guys, the only rule for the DraftKings contest is make sure you go sign up on Pickett, PTP, and follow both of us. That's literally the only rule. Follow us over on Pickett, PTP.
And they give you money. It's cool. That's good.
Free. That's all it is. Free money. That's all it is. So, yeah, very, very excited for this week. I think that we are on some great spots. But, yeah, we'll be coming back to you guys on Monday for our recap. Hopefully, we are in a very good mood on Monday because of these winners. And also, we will be talking about our favorite Monday Night Football game bets, right? We have 2 games. We are blessed with 2 great games, right? We have Minnesota, Philly, and you also have Tennessee, Buffalo. A lot of firepower in those matchups there. So make sure you go sign up on the DraftKings one. Hopefully you guys are able to do that. We did extend it to Monday, so you will be able to play those 2 games as well. So hopefully there's some drama. I have somebody on those days as well. So hopefully I'm down like 3 points and I'll be able to bring out like Justin Jefferson for a 50-pointer again here. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys are the best. Again, drop a like on your way out if you've been liking the content, and hopefully we can come back with another sweep for you guys on our Sunday show. So have a good one, guys. Best of luck, and let's kill week 2. Have a good one, guys.